Hi, my name's Leonie Bolt, and I went from high school troublemaker and long-time backpacker to accidental entrepreneur. After 15 years working as a professional photographer and running my own studio, I grew into becoming a personal empowerment and business mentor to help other women to follow their passions and find their purpose too. I've learnt to pave my own way through life, and now I empower others to do the same, to break through their limiting beliefs and empower them to shine. Welcome to the Empowered to Shine podcast, where we dive deep into creating a life by your own design. Welcome to the Empowered to Shine podcast. Our guest today is Terri Tonkin from Connect Within.
Hi everybody, as Leonie said, my name's Terri Tonkin. My business name is Connect Within. Mine is probably more of a story of following your passion rather than going into business, becoming successful, growing, pivoting, all of those sorts of things. So I've got quite a varied background. When I left school many, many years ago, I joined the Women's Royal Australian Air Force and I remained in service for just over 3 years. When I was discharged, I went back into retail for a few months. Then I became a mum, and then I taught kids to swim. Then I joined the bank because I was following my husband around with his service. He remained in the Air Force. We ended up in Darwin. I joined Westpac Bank, stayed with the bank for about 14 years and did such a variety of positions, had different roles of responsibilities, met so many wonderful people in those travels. So I worked in the bank in Darwin, I worked in the bank in Wagga Wagga in New South Wales, in Newcastle, in Virginia here in Brisbane, and then in Brisbane City. Late 90s, very late 90s, I took a package from Westpac and I fell into a job which was called Jobs Pathway Program at the time. And that was working with young people in school, particularly year 11 and 12, and helping them make that transition from school to either further education, training or employment. Over the years, that program changed many times over, and we were working with those who were becoming disengaged from school, some as young as 13 and 14, and in some cases some really sad stories. They were disengaging for so many different reasons: dysfunctional families, low academic results, low self-esteem. They were in trouble, and a lot of times they were in trouble because of all these other things as well. And I stayed with that program for just over 5 years and absolutely loved it. Saw some amazing transitions in some young people. And I still have some of those young people, if they see me in the street, they go, "Hi, miss, do you remember me?" And that just brings a warm, fuzzy feeling to know that you've actually helped somebody along their life journey. From that program, I went and worked with the Australian government, the government that actually funded that program to be available. And I ended up staying there for 10 years. Again, it was a change in government policy. At the time, Mr. Abbott was Prime Minister and his government decided we didn't need youth programs because they were either all in school or in employment, which we all know is not quite right. There's so many of them that are couch surfing. They're not on any system. They're not registered with Centrelink. Yeah. And there's so many young people disengaged from life. Not only were they disengaged from school, but they were disengaged from life. So working on the other side of that program, again, I built up some fantastic networks. And again, it was still helping the youth and working with the providers who were providing that service to those young people. So that was great. After 10 years, I had the opportunity that, again, the government had changed. It was in that time of revolving doors of government, departments, ministers, programs, policies. And I decided to take a package from there too. So I've been very fortunate in that respect. I didn't do anything for quite some time. And then it took me about 8 months before I wanted to people again. So I went volunteering, and I was volunteering at my grandson's school doing assisted reading, and which is something that I love doing. And I encourage everybody to encourage their children and grandchildren to do it. And I also volunteered as a English tutor, for want of a better term, for migrant women in particular. So that was down at the local community centre. So I did that for about 12 months. And then, being the lifelong learner that I am, I went back to study, and I was studying coaching and absolutely loved that as well. And I think for me, part of the expectation of doing those studies, or my perception of expectations, was that I would go into business, which I did. Absolutely loved the coaching, again, working with people, helping them have that aha moment and go, wow, I really can do this, or wow, I do know how to do that. But I struggled with the business side, and in particular technology. As you know, Leonie, it's not one of my fortes. And I think it was probably because there was so many other things going in my life at the same time. I'm also a grandma, and I was also carer for my mum. And trying to do business and care for somebody and look after all of their life issues as well was quite demanding. I persevered. I created a networking group called Women Embracing Business, and I held that for 3 years. And I've only recently passed that on to another colleague, Kerry McDonald. But again, through that time of doing business, doing the meetup, I have met so many wonderful, wonderful people. But it also gave me the courage to step out of my comfort zone and write the book that I always wanted to write. Since I was a little girl, I have been such an avid reader, and I always said one day I will write a book. Well, in 2018, I wrote my first book. In 2019, I was a contributor to another book. In 2020, I contributed to 2 more books. And in 2021, I already have 2 contributions waiting in the pipelines to be published. And I also contribute to a monthly magazine where I write a small article every month. So I have found my passion now, which is writing, not business.
Yeah. And I love your journey and your stories, because particularly for someone of your age, it was back when either women didn't work and you went into the workforce, or they were teachers, or librarians,
nurses.
That was pretty
Office.
much it. And you stayed
it
in a job.
was.
You stayed in a job. You got in and you stayed there for your lifetime, and that was sort of how it was. So you've had a very amazing journey that you've been able to have so many experiences and so many different jobs, travel and meet so many people. And in doing that, it's led you to your passion project, which you've been able to continue in retirement, which is...
That's right. Yeah. I have had a variety, and I guess one of the reasons I wanted to write my first book is I wanted to write it before my mum passed, and I wanted to write it for my grandchildren, and in particular my granddaughters, to let them know that no matter what age, have a go.
Yeah.
I gave business a go. It was hit and miss. It was haphazard. Like I said, I love the coaching side of it. I love the networking side of it. Business and technology, for me, I'm better off working for someone in that area.
Yeah.
That's
it's not for everybody, and it's tough.
No.
It's really hard to have your own business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that, through my networking. And again, that's one of the reasons I started the networking group, is that I was sitting at home all by myself. Yeah. I didn't have pets of any kind. My husband was full time, and I was sitting here and I was alone. Even though I had my study colleagues, a lot of them were in Melbourne or Sydney or Perth.
Yeah.
There was nobody here in Brisbane that I could really connect with. So I started the networking group to support, encourage and collaborate. And over the 3 years that I had it, we had some amazing collaborations. The encouragement provided to and for other members was amazing. And there was always somebody who could support, even if it was come and have a cup of coffee, or sit down and I'll show you how to do that. And you've done that. You were part of my networking group, even though you had your own. And the number of ladies that have been able to access your skill set it just proved the full benefits of that networking group.
Absolutely. Networking is so important for both getting clients, but also finding those people that understand what it's like to have your own business, because it can be lonely,
Yeah.
especially working from home, and especially now everybody's just via Zoom potentially.
Yeah.
So it does get lonely, and the rest of your family may not understand what you're going through because they're leaving and going to work, or they're leaving and going to school. And they go, well, what are you doing all day? Why is the house there? And there's so many mums like that.
Yeah, like I'm retired, and I was out networking yesterday.
Yeah.
Still network. I still network because I had a funny story. Networking and the connections you make. I've been going to a local pool and just doing some exercise in the pool. Got talking to a lady down there the other day, and she said, I really need some help. I need to find somebody who does the Emmet technology. And I went, I know somebody who does that.
Yeah.
I had a message from the practitioner this morning saying, thank you so much for referring that lady to me. So the value of just having a conversation. It was a lady I'd never met. I'd seen her once before at the pool and said, hello, good morning. And the next time I was walking up and down the pool together, and she was saying she'd had a broken ankle, I think it was, and she said she's having a lot of trouble with it. And she said she'd had somebody do an Emmet methodology on it previously, and she didn't know anybody on this side of town. And I went, oh, just the person for you. So the people that you meet and the connections that you can make, they're long lasting. It's not just whilst you're in the networking group. On Facebook yesterday, I I shouldn't say that, should I? I referred these people to your studio. They were looking for an actual studio so they could do product photography.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
those sorts of things.
The beauty of the networking, to support your local community as well as other business owners, but also to have that little black book of everyone that you need when you need it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I have worked side by side for, like you said, you had your group for 3 years and I had mine, and they've kind of crossed over, and the people cross over, and the connections cross over, and it comes down to the value of a customer is very reliant on the value of your referral network as well, because one person, even if they come into your business and on a heavily discounted or a free voucher or something like that, it's the people that are going to come because of them that is the value of that particular person.
It's like when you do your courses and you're sharing your experience, it's that know, like, and trust. You know, I know you, this other person knows me. So if I like you, well, maybe this other person will like you too. And
absolutely,
your bubble just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Exactly. And connection is the most important thing when it comes to doing business. So, it's whether you've got that face-to-face contact or that follow-up process, or even if it's, jumping on a Zoom coffee, those connections are what are going to build your business. Having that strong, comfortable communication and that relatability to other people in your network.
And you can have all sorts of conversations. Just because we know, like, and trust doesn't mean we have to agree.
Yes.
We'll have differing opinions on things, but we have the emotional intelligence and the maturity to have those conversations that are not always easy. Us with technology, you could, and we've been through this, you say, oh, Terri, it's easy, you just do, and I'm going, no, it's not easy. It's not easy. A lot of people, I'm a coach, and a lot of people said, oh, that's a limiting belief. For me, it's not a limiting belief. It's actually my capabilities and abilities. I can use technology. I can use systems. There are aspects of technology that it just doesn't gel with me. And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. What works for one person
reach out.
Doesn't necessarily work for everybody.
No. So Last year, I made the decision to step back from business. I'll still coach. That's just me.
Because you love it.
I will always support and encourage and collaborate. The function that I spoke to you about the other night, that's a big collaboration, getting people in. I will always do that. That's just part of me. Business, I don't particularly choose to do, want to do.
Yeah.
I made the decision to retire last year because my husband had a life-changing experience where you get tapped on the shoulder when you're almost ready to retire anyway. So for us, it was a blessing, but we'd made the decision that that would be fine. I can leave my business because it's mine, walk away, and we could travel. Because the industry got tapped was the travel expo. Absolutely perfect timing. And within a month, the world had shut down.
Yeah.
I'd already made the decision, and I was quite happy with that. I wasn't prepared to flip-flop, going, yes, I will, no, I won't, yes. No, I'm done in the routine of running the business. I'll have it there. I'm still registered. I can run workshops, which I'll be doing later this year. I can still coach. I can be a speaker if need be. My business is still there. It's still mine.
Exactly. But you've just taken the pressure off yourself on earning money because there's no need for that. You can still follow your passion, run your workshops, do all of that. It doesn't necessarily need to make money because you don't need to be in that position and you don't need the hustle.
No, we're very fortunate too. We're probably sort of the first of my generation to, I'll say, self-funded. I was of the generation when I first started working in the bank, and I was almost 30 then. It wasn't compulsory for women to have superannuation.
That's right, yeah.
So for younger people behind me, they even have that added advantage that they've got a superannuation. Whereas mine didn't start until I was 30 years of age.
Yeah.
But being in the services, my husband he has the capacity there to have an income for us. So very fortunate.
Very fortunate.
Very blessed.
Unfortunately, you can't follow up your travel plans just yet, though.
Be a lot within Australia for a while, I think. But that's okay. That's okay too, because there's lots of Australia I haven't seen.
That's exactly right. That's what I was going to say. There's so much here in our own country for us to explore, and it's such a grounding country. I've recently heard Ayers Rock referred to as the heart of the world, and I believe that energetically it probably is. Because
I've been out to Ayers Rock. I haven't done the walk around it because when I was there, our boys were quite little. Hubby was able to walk it. I chose not to. But just being in the vicinity, in that environment, it has a total different energy. It does.
Yeah. So we're so lucky to be able to have spots like that all over our country where you can get time alone just to get grounded and feel as one with the rest of the world.
We have beautiful beaches where you can just go and sit. We have, some of the river systems that we have, and some of them are not even well known. But even on the banks of the Murray River, and look at, down in South Australia, and look at the Red Cliffs, and it's just an amazing country. It really. Go out to Cuba PD.
Yes, absolutely. And that just reiterates too, like how important it is to have balance when you are doing business, to make time to do those things so that you don't get to retirement and go, I wish I'd explored my own country.
Yeah. Again, very fortunate in that being part of the Defence Force, we have travelled quite a bit within Australia, but there's still so much more that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
We were fortunate enough, like just recently we had a week up at Port Douglas, been there before, but never stayed there. Yeah. And just walking around town, the little things that you find that you don't see when you're drive in, drive out.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Well, I'm going to flip back to you becoming an author and sharing your story. How important do you think it is for people to be able to share their experiences?
I think it's extremely important. You hear that there's never a silly question because somebody else may be thinking the same thing. And I think so many people, and it's not particularly women, because men don't tend to share anyway. Women, they quite often believe that they are the only one, that it's only happening to them. Nobody else has gone through this. And in my first book, this one, My Time to Shine, that way, my tagline is your voice, your choice, your life. And this book is my story, and it talks about the roles that I've played throughout my life. I was born into the role of daughter and sister. I grew into the role of being a school student, grew into the role of being an auntie, a wife, a mum, a grandmother, a carer, all the employment positions. They're all roles that we play. They've all made me, all those roles that I've experienced have made me who I am, but they don't define me. I'm not an author. I am an author who has emotions. I'm an author who can have fun. I'm an author who likes to experience new things. So even though it's a role, it doesn't define me. Made me who I am, but it doesn't define me. And if I can share that, because quite often you say to people, what do you do? Or, what's your story? They go, oh, I'm a this or I'm a that. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Without actually telling me anything. So one of the things I talk about in my book is I am. Well, I am confident. I am emotional. I am fun. I am so many things and so much more. So that was one of the purposes for writing that. And that's why I say the legacy that I can leave my granddaughters in particular is that they go at anything. I didn't start running until my late 50s and ran my first half marathon just before I was 60, but I went on to run 3 of them. Yeah. So, I've changed careers a number of times. If it doesn't work, try something different. You don't have to stay there.
Exactly. That's what we as coaches really identify with what people are struggling with, is they're stuck in their story, they're stuck in their limiting beliefs of I can't do this because, and you, Terri, are living proof that you can give anything a go. You can run a marathon.
Well, you can. I could have stayed a coach and I could have struggled with business. It was becoming a burden.
Exactly.
That's not going to be much fun. I want to have a fun life. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be able to do the things I want to do. I don't want to be restricted. I gave it a good shot. 4 years. Yeah, it's not for me. Time to change.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity and connections again through people that I knew to support me through the book writing process. Yourself and some other beautiful ladies as well supported me with that. I wrote my book when I was 60.
Yeah.
So I've had that dream since I was a little girl, but I've been too busy being a mum. 2 boys, 2 very active boys. Yeah. One who did ballroom dancing. So we were travelling all over the countryside. There was not much time to sit and write, but now I've got the time and absolutely enjoying it.
Yeah.
And the book that I wrote or that I contributed to was this. I always go the wrong way. It's business areas. And my chapter in that is about perceptions. And it's, again, my perception of the expectation on me after I'd finished study was to go into business. Well, that was my thoughts.
Yeah. Sometimes our path leads us where we need to go, and we just need
there was a path. Yeah. Look, there was a path. Even though I didn't like business or I don't like business, the path that I've been on has shown me that I can do so many other things.
Yeah.
So it's still a worthwhile journey to go on.
Absolutely. And you probably never would have taken that step to become an author if you weren't in business for yourself, because you had no reason or no connections to make it happen.
No, none at all. None at all. And then last year, with a referral from you, and again, it's that connections that we make, I was able to go that way, become a change makers.
Yes.
And this one was about the domino effect. It was, how did I make a change in somebody's life or an impact in somebody's life, as you did in the edition prior to this one. And mine was about networking. And that's how I'm able to make a difference in people's lives, because I've been able to support women in their journey into business. You know, in my group we had, and in yours, we had young women in their 20s, early 30s. My oldest was 84 and still in business and absolutely loving it. Yeah. And they're in between.
Yeah.
So the impact that has, and that becomes a snowball and a domino effect. So that's what that one is about. This one, I did it. Again, it's a compilation, and my chapter in there is on mindset. And I went back to my running. I wasn't a runner. How can I run that? No, that won't work. And it was how to change this to get the body in the position to run.
Yeah.
And not doing 3 half marathons, because I had to change my mindset. It was not, oh, I'm not a runner, to, yeah, I can do that. I could see myself coming across the finishing line. I had to consider things like hydration, because 21 kilometres is a long way.
Yeah.
My nutrition, what clothes to wear, what shoes to wear, what bra to wear. And there was all these mindset things, because, well, that's my favourite bra. Yeah, but if you run in that, that's going to chafe.
Yeah.
Silly things. What socks? Because some socks slip down in your shoes. So it was all trial and error and tweak and go, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Let's try something else. And that all comes down to mindset.
Yeah.
I could have a positive mindset all the time. Is that going to be resourceful to me? No. We're beings. We all have emotions. And if we don't feel the negatives, we'll never understand or appreciate the positives. We think we do.
Absolutely. But it's about
in a positive. Sorry?
It's about addressing those emotions. It's about understanding, okay, I'm feeling this. Why am I feeling that? What can I change to change that feeling?
Yeah. And it's okay to let them sit there for a while. Yeah. Ponder, process it. Don't let them take up residence.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not to say that emotion won't come back. It will, because we're humans. So the next book I think that will be published is Forever Touched by Suicide. I lost to suicide many years ago, almost 30 years ago now. So again, that's my story of how his passing affected me. And again, it's, to this day, it's so prevalent now, and yet it still seems to be a taboo subject. So I can write my story on how his death affected me and what I did to move beyond that, or through that. You never move beyond it. It's always there. But you can move through it. And if I can help one person, fantastic.
Absolutely.
And in that book, there's 23 authors. Some of those authors, it's a very personal story. Some of them were unsuccessful in their attempt. Some of them got to the brink and stepped back. Others have lost family members and friends. So it's quite a compilation, that one. It'll be extremely moving. And then the next book is Mothers Making a Difference. And again, it's not, I contacted the lady who was pulling that one together and sort of said, it's not that I'm going to say, I'm a success story, look at me. It's more about my journey. And again, it goes back to what we were saying before. Life is a journey, and it's okay to change direction. It's okay to do something else. And again, really letting women know that they can make a change by making a change in themselves. And it doesn't have to be in one particular direction or another. You can go, your road's not straight up and down like this. It could be like this.
No.
And it's okay.
Absolutely. And like you said, when you change in yourself, when you work on yourself, when you put yourself first, that has the ripple effect into everyone around you.
Yeah. So it really that chapter is really, again, around the roles that we play don't define us. It's okay to change. It's okay to say no. And it's okay to take a risk, take a chance. And there's never,
No, just lessons.
Lots of lessons. And, my lesson in business was, you gave it a good shot. You gave it a good nudge. Not for you.
Not for you. No longer serving me.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It became a burden.
Yeah. So, Terri, apart from the books, you've got maybe some workshops coming back?
I'm actually assisting with BPW Northflakes, Business and Professional Women. And in November, 13th of November, put this date in your diary, date clamor. It is Women's Empowerment Workshop. At this stage, we believe it will be at North's Leagues Club at Kalanga on the 13th of November. It's a Saturday. It will be run from 9 till 4, and I will be running a session in there on healthy boundaries. It's okay to say no.
Excellent. I've already got that on my calendar.
Awesome. See you there.
Excellent.
We will be promoting that very soon as a date claimer, and hoping to get women within the Moreton region who are aspiring to go into business or who are looking for support. They've started their business. Again, where do you go? If you don't know who to go to, where do you go? So it's really about letting those ladies know that BPW is there, Northflakes. It's a professional women's organisation. That is a good starting point. Again, we've all got connections. We've got we've got solopreneurs, we've got small business, we've got professional women that are running, I'll say solicitors, accountants, the profession as such as we know them, and anything in between. So there's such a range of knowledge and wisdom available, and again, they've got connections. So it's really empowering women to step up and to lead and to have an economic impact within the region. You don't have the region.
That's an international organisation too, so the connections
it is
that you can make through that are really astounding, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
That one's coming up. November, 13th of November.
Yeah, awesome. So, Terri, if people want to reach out to you for whatever reason, what's the best way to get in touch?
Probably through my email or through LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn as Terri Tonkin. And my email is terri@connectwithin.com.au.
Fantastic. Well, if you want to reach out to Terri, reach out to her through LinkedIn, or you can email her. And if you come along to the November event, I should see you there as well. So it's been very exciting having you and sharing a little bit about your story and your adventure through business and through life, Terri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Shine podcast. My name's Leonie Bolt, and I'm glad that you were able to join us today. I hope you got some serious inspiration from today's episode. If you'd like to find more episodes, go to leoniebolt.com/podcasts or start subscribing on your favorite podcast streaming channel. I look forward to seeing you again soon.